I don't think it's just only about, being successful or growing or doing the next thing. It's not what it's about. It is truly about the connections and the people that you kind of get to work alongside in one way or another, even if it's just a 10-minute conversation, dropping off oil to some shop and just going, how are you going? And that's really made me realize, I'm lucky even in the hard parts.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. It's the summer series of Deep in the Weeds, and today I'm pretty excited to welcome back Monica Luppi from Lulu's in Sydney. Monica, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you going?
Good, really good. It's good to get you on the show. I know you've got a million stories. You've got such a rich sort of cultural background with America and Italy and also Australia. Do you have any sort of food travel stories that really sort of affected your approach to cooking?
Oh, travel, gosh. I think not so much travel, but I think definitely being, I guess, what you'd call a third culture kid, which is, like the person that is raised in more than one culture and of culture different than the culture of the origin. So I think for sure, like my whole life has been kind of about nostalgia of where I would rather be when I'm in the place I am. And that's about food for sure. Yeah.
Tell us, that's fascinating. Tell us a bit about that. Do you have any examples of that nostalgia? And
Don't get me started on nostalgia. Well, I mean, I think it's part of that feeling, of being ungrounded. I think I think many kids of immigrants or first generations can relate to the fact of when you're, like, for example, going to the States and going to school in the States, being an Italian family, speaking Italian in the home, being born in Italy and everything. When you're in the US, you never quite felt like American enough. And, but then there was certain foods that you would kind of attach to, feeling more like you'd fit in or things that identified with that culture. Whereas when you'd be back in Italy, you'd be more attached to certain other foods. So like when I was in America during the school year, I would be dreaming about mortadella or something I would eat when I would be home. And then when I would be in Italy, I would be like, oh my God, if only I could get, a good deli sandwich here or whatever. So it was kind of like this, the grass is always greener. And I think it's really tied to like not only nostalgia, but also identity of feeling like you're never quite 100% at home. And I think that's definitely something that I carry as well here in Australia, where I'm here and, especially during COVID, I would be dreaming about, what I could only get in Italy. And then after a while in Italy, my partner and I, when we went this Italian summer, we were like, oh my God, there's no Asian food here. Oh, we have to get back, So yeah, it's a constant kind of feeling. And I think food is one of those things that grounds you and like really is emotional. And I think that definitely plays a part. Yeah.
Do you have any sort of food stories or moments in time that you can share with us that, whether it's in Italy or whether it's, somewhere else?
So many. You're going to have to narrow that down, Huck. What don't I have a food memory associated with? Oh, for summer. Yeah. Well, for me, summer for sure. Huge memory for me would be going to Verona. I spent most of my summers in a small town outside of Verona with my nonna, and she was actually not a good cook. I know it sounds weird, but like she grew up during the war, was very poor. And so she was like, pretty much homeless for the first 20 years of her life. She never had anyone teaching her how to cook, let alone food to cook. So I don't really have memories of her cooking for me, but I have a very, very strong food memory of getting on the bus from this little town to the city of Verona on a Saturday with her and going to this specific ice cream shop, which was right in the center of town. And they had this thing called semifreddo, which was like 2 wafer biscuits and in the middle, this kind of amaretto semifreddo ice cream. And it was like this big occasion in the summer of just walking down the street, and she would buy me like a cute outfit and just eating this semifreddo. And it's amazing because it's still there. The shop is still there, and I don't think I really even like it very much, to be honest, because I'm not really into like amaretto flavored things. But it's like this massive memory of like summer and getting to take the bus to the big like city and going shopping and buying something and having this ice cream. And that is like probably the biggest connection and feeling very special in that moment. And I think that's like a massive summer memory for me. Another big summer food memory I think I can always connect to is bruschetta, because we would have these massive barbecues and we would like char the bread when I was little on the grill and then rub garlic on it and just put simple tomato on top. And that was just this flavor that when I have it, it's just like instantly I'm transported back and being 5 years old again. So when you say summer, those are the two things that really pop into my mind. And then I guess it's different. Being in Australia, it's weird because like, I'm babbling now, but you try to fit in like your Christmas traditions into like a summer here, and it's like doesn't work, because in like when you're in Italy or America, like our traditional Christmas dinner is like very heavy foods, and I keep trying to shoehorn it into like an Australian summer Christmas, and making people eat like all these boiled meats and like tortellini and broth, and people are like sweating. So we've definitely had to adapt into more of an Australian Christmas meal. Unfortunately, yeah.
Thanks to the joys of social media, I know you've done like big epic food travels through the US. Do you have any stories of the eating experiences and some of your favorite things that you've enjoyed to eat through the US in your travels? Oh gosh, yes.
It's really incredible how America has these, it's such a big country, but it has like so many small micro cultures and micro foodways all over. And I think because when my partner and I are big like record nerds, so we travel, we've done a lot of like road trips in the US to go record digging, and we kind of committed two things. We committed to not taking any motorways, and we committed to not going to any chain restaurants. So we really wanted to make sure we took the highways that went through the small towns, the old highways, and only stopped for lunch at really local places. So we've just had these amazing experiences, not just running into like one was an amazing soul food place we went into that it was like a Sunday and everybody had just finished coming to church. So we walked in and like all these old ladies with giant hats on, like kind of looking at us like, who are you two people? And just eating the most amazing fried chicken and like peach cobbler. But also really getting to know like the variety of culture and history in the US through the foodways, like the difference between Creole and Cajun, or like the Low Country in the Carolinas and the history of enslaved people there and what they brought to the culinary landscape. And I think, going to even driving all the way up to Montreal and realizing that a Montreal bagel was really superior to a New York bagel. I'll probably get some emails about that. But I think the way to see a place is really, I think, by car, I think wherever you go, and to discover like the variety of humanity and the variety of history, and food is the way that I think you can connect to that more easily if you're able to be curious and listen, I think. Yeah.
You mentioned, things like the difference between Creole and Cajun. Tell us a little bit about that and your experiences and the differences there.
Well, I think just like the history of I'm going to sound really dumb now because I'm like, there is a difference. I'm not like a historian, but like the Cajun is like a distortion of like a French word of people that were actually like French, and they moved down from Canada, like down into Louisiana, so it was like a French background, and then like the Creole is more like African and enslaved generations. So two different styles of cooking that like blended in Louisiana. So I always thought it was kind of the same thing, interchangeable, and like actually two totally different cultures. And it's just really interesting how they blended, and like New Orleans food is some of my favorite, but I took some cooking classes there and stuff like that. And just to even scratch the surface, you're constantly learning. I think it would probably take 20 years of study to really understand how things melted together there. Yeah.
I know you're very sensitive and aware in regards to cultural appropriation in regards to food and different cultures, but you've experienced so many different cultures and cuisines over the world. Are there any that sort of influenced the way you cook or your approach to your cooking?
Oh, I mean, you can't walk around, on this planet and not be influenced by everything unless, it's a very poor life that isn't influenced by what you learn and what you see. Of course, like, I think it's important to give credit, and, I'm constantly learning where that boundary is of going, I'm influenced, but I'm not gonna, it's hard to find that line. But definitely, moving to Australia has, opened a whole new chapter, because apart from the fact that, moving here as an adult, and experiencing like all the different cultures that are here, like Italy, the last 15 years before moving to Australia, I was living in Italy. It's not, I won't say it's homogeneous, but it's like, 99.999% Italian. And in parentheses, Italy itself, what is it? It's a series of invasions and occupations as well. There's African, there's Spanish, there's Austro-Hungarian, it's a mix of cultures there as well. But coming to Australia and really experiencing close up, different Asian foods, beginning to understand native ingredients and their significance. It's given me, it's enriched me so much. And obviously I would never try to pawn that off as my own cuisine, but at home especially, it's certainly widened the amount of ingredients I use, but also it's really interesting to draw the parallels. Like, I look at something like fish sauce, which is used by the Vietnamese community here, and I automatically recognize it as garum or colatura di alici, which is Italian fish sauce. And it's been around since Roman times in Italy, and it's very much used in Roman cuisine. I think more than influence also is like the travel and experiencing different food cultures gives you the ability to see the parallels and to see how many things we have in common with each other in the way we've developed flavors. And so therefore you can do something like, I don't know, or another thing, sorry, is like that fermented black bean that is used in Chinese cooking, like really reminds me of good balsamic vinegar as well. So just those things that you can kind of have those parallel flavors and go, oh, well, this can be substituted in that, and I can make something tasty and see if it crosses over and it works. And it's fun to kind of study that. Yeah. I'm a dork.
This episode is proudly supported by Montague, handpicked for you.
The things that we're really looking for in plums, first of all, they've got to be sweet. We're really looking for a full flavour explosion in our plums. Red flesh is critically important to us, higher in antioxidants, so all that good stuff. And then we're also looking to add a slightly firmer texture. So there's almost a little crunch. That's the real driver for us.
For more information, go to montague.com.au.
You mentioned summertime in Italy and your nostalgic memories of that. What speaks of summer in regards to food in Australia for you? Are there particular ingredients or things you like to cook over summer that really speak of summer in Australia?
Oh, well, first of all, the produce for sure. It's the time with tomatoes, and then it's the only time of the year where you can just eat tomatoes every single day, which is what I like to do. But for me, Australia is the amazing produce, especially the seafood, like oysters is just something I really think about when I think about summer. No party is complete without, some oysters and some prawns. I think that's very Aussie. I really love the barbecue culture as well, people grilling and having beer and just chilling out by the water and going to the beach and things like that. I think that's what I like, that kind of very casual I won't say taking it for granted, but I really do think how lucky Australia is to have like all this amazing produce and all these beautiful spaces in which to enjoy it. Yeah, that's what I think about when I think about summer. I think how lucky we are.
It's been a pretty crazy couple of years, but you've created this company, Lulu's, during this time off the back of all sorts of amazing pop-ups that you were doing. What are things like for you at the moment?
Yeah, well, I have to say, like the last couple months have been pretty quiet. I think to be honest, I think all of retail has really taken a bit of a hit because of the financial insecurity that's been around. Like people are tightening their belts for sure. But I have to say that even in that, the amazing solidarity and community in the small businesses that I have been lucky enough to be connected to has kept me going, because I go, oh God, it's quiet. I wonder if like everyone's kind of forgotten about me and like, okay, I had my moment. It's over. Like whatever. Everybody's moved on to the next thing. But actually, it's just been so amazing to actually have this massive group of other people who make condiments, other people who are having small businesses, my retailers, all the little shops that I'm in, kind of have this moment where we're all looking at each other going, oh, we're all feeling the same thing. We're all feeling a bit of insecurity right now. We're all feeling a bit of, worry. And it just makes you go, okay, we're not alone. We're in this together. We're all going to, keep going. So I don't think that, I don't think it's just only about, being successful or growing or doing the next thing. It's not what it's about. It is truly about the connections and the people that you kind of get to work alongside in one way or another, even if it's just a 10-minute conversation, dropping off oil to some shop and just going, how are you going? And that's really made me realize, yeah, I'm lucky even in the hard parts.
Australia's culinary landscape is evolving rapidly, and the last 10, 15 years have been extraordinary. What's some of your favourite things that are going on in food in Australia that you expect to see in the next sort of year or two?
I don't have predictions. I do think that what I think is very exciting. One of the very exciting things I've noticed is since COVID has happening, that like the rebirth or the attention towards really maintaining and how important like Chinatown and the Haymarket is. I think that's an incredible project that there's a few people working on. And there's a lot of like young people of Asian descent or even themselves immigrants who are very politically aware, politically active. And I think that's really spread out past the Asian community itself to more people realizing, hey, we have this incredible wealth of food, culture, and knowledge and history, and we don't want to lose that. And I think, because of the beginning of COVID, there was a lot of kind of anti-Asian bias and hate, and the reaction to that was, wait, this is A, wrong, but B, there's this incredible wealth we need to protect. And there's been a lot of amazing projects to kind of revitalize and protect the Haymarket and Chinatown in Sydney. I think that's really incredible. And on a wider note, I think that is part of recognizing and widening what we do see as quote unquote, like worthy of being covered in the media food that, besides what a hat is or what like the next big, fine dining places, our real richness, our food culture is really down to like those shops that have been around for a long time, or those shops that maybe don't get recognized because it doesn't fit into like the Eurocentric kind of way we view like what is valuable food. And I do see that widening, and I do see that appreciation getting more let's say more light shed on it. And I think we really need to realize that not to take anything away from, chefs like, I don't know, Neil Perry or whatever. But like, we don't need a more European friendly necessarily, or more quote unquote like sanitized version of other cultures' food. We need to be able to actually meet people where they're at and learn from that as well, and enjoy it and appreciate it. Things like there's an app called Have You Eaten? And the guy's name is Nick. I don't remember his last name, but he used to write for Broadsheet. And it's just this amazing map of all the different cultural cuisines in Sydney. And I think things like that are going to hopefully keep becoming more and more important. And it's a much needed shot in the arm, I think, to what can become like a pretty stale food scene where it's just the same 10 people getting celebrated over and over again, So that's where I'm at.
You've always had this amazing sort of dynamic and agile approach to what you do, and doing all sorts of different things, whether it's a pop-up or feeding lots of people or creating a retail product. What's next for you in the next couple of years?
You tell me, Huck. I have no idea what's next. I don't know what's next. I want to keep cooking. I want to keep doing, as when I started Lulu's Remedy, the oil during lockdown, I said when it stops being fun and when it stops working, I'll stop. And that's why I haven't hired anyone. It's just me. And that gives me the capacity to kind of do what I like. I'm not 25 anymore. I want to do things that make me happy. So I'm hopefully going to be doing more pop-ups here and there, more traveling, and some collaborations as well coming up, which is always fun. So I don't know. I really don't know. I just will take any opportunity that gets presented to me, and hopefully have lots of new experiences myself.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting, and it's an absolute honour to catch up with you today on Deep in the Weeds. Look forward to seeing what you do in the next sort of year or two. Please keep in touch. Have a great summer, and we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you, Huck. You too.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.